This all started when I came back from college for a weekend to visit my parents. My 20th birthday is this Monday, and after some back and forth, texting with my mom said she really wanted to see me and I should be home to celebrate with her and Dad. I've always had a bit of a distant relationship with my parents. We're on good terms and everything. We were just never really a super lovey-dovey family type. I hadn't seen them in about a year since I left for college and realized I did feel some excitement in the pit of my stomach at the thought of getting to see them again. After all, they were my parents, and I do love them, obviously. I walked to the top floor of my parking garage and opened my car door, slinging my backpack full of extra clothes and bathroom essentials to its rightful spot on the passenger seat. I felt the warm sun hit my face through my dashboard window, letting out a calm sigh as I turned my keys in the ignition and began my trip home. The drive was easy enough. I queued up some of my favorite albums and was jamming all the way there until I pulled into my old house's driveway. I put my backpack on and excitedly walked inside to see my parents. When I walked through the door, I was first greeted by my dad in the kitchen. He turned towards me and spoke. "Greetings, kiddo. I'm so glad to see you. Come give your father a big hug." As he was walking towards me, I hesitated for a bit. This may seem like a pretty normal interaction for some kids and their parents, but my dad has never spoken like that. He wasn't affectionate at all, and I don't think I've ever gotten a hug from him in my life. We also live in a more southern state, and when he spoke, I noticed his accent was completely gone. Although weird, I chalked it up to just not seeing him for a while and opened up to receive his hug. When we embraced, I instantly got goosebumps all down my body when I realized how ice cold he was. Not the slight chill when you've been inside under the AC all day type of cold, but ice, bone-chilling, and startlingly freezing type of cold. After the hug, I stepped back a bit to look at my dad when I noticed something else that made my stomach feel uneasy. His eyes. They had this static, glossy look to them, like they were moving but not actually taking in anything he was looking at. My dad has never taken any kind of drugs. He's actually terrified of them. He even refused to take pain meds after some surgery he got at the dentist because he didn't want to have any side effects or get addicted. Something definitely felt off. But my doubts were zipped away when my dad mentioned they had bought a bunch of food for me in the fridge and pantry and that I should go help myself. He went up to his room to take a shower. He often gets back from the gym around the time I arrived, so this was per his usual routine. I opened the doors to our fridge and pantry, my eyes practically glowing when I saw the large array of food at my selection. The fridge was literally so full that I couldn't even see any shelf space available to set down the DD coffee I brought in with me. College has been a little hard financially for me, and I'll admit after living off chicken, potatoes, protein powder, and rice every day, I may have gorged out on the food a bit. While happily munching away on some of the candied walnuts and iced glass of Diet Sprite, I noticed a small, scrunched-up ball in the corner of the kitchen next to our trash can. My curiosity piqued when I saw it and grabbed it, uncrumpling it to read it in my head. It was a grocery receipt. A big one. Like, very big. I opened the fridge back up and realized that every single item in the fridge and pantry was on the list, bought yesterday at 7:45 p.m. This was extremely weird. Not that they bought groceries, but the fact that it implied before I came, the fridge was completely devoid of any food or drinks whatsoever. As in, completely cobweb empty. I began to get an uneasy feeling in my stomach. All these weird things began to feel more and more off. My mom loved cooking and would never be caught dead with an empty fridge, or at the very least no staples like milk, eggs, or bread. heard footsteps coming down the stairs and quickly tossed the list into the trash. I was greeted again, but this time by my mother, who once again embraced me in a negative degree Arctic-style hug. It took everything in my power not to shiver. This whole visit already felt so weird, and I felt a weird sense of uneasiness slowly creep over me and amplify itself the longer I stayed. I asked my mom if Dad was feeling okay, as he seemed a little distracted when I was talking to him. She instantly became stiff as a board when those words escaped my lips. "I do not know what you're talking about. Your father seems to be acting perfectly normal to me." As she stared at me with the same glossy-eyed look. I decided to drop it and just continue to try to enjoy my visit and time with them as the day went on. The uncomfortable feeling never left, but I did start to have a fun time as we watched some movies and had some cake together. The night was starting to get late, and my eyes were starting to get a bit droopy, so I said my goodnights and went upstairs and went off to my old room for bed. The first thing I noticed when I got up there was how clean everything was. Like it was literally spotless. I was honestly kind of flattered they spent so much time making sure the house was so tidy for when I came, and I felt grateful. The room was exactly the way I left it. And I walked over to this black marble bird statue one of my old boyfriends got me as a birthday present. I began rolling it around in my hands when I noticed something. There was no dent. When I first received it as a gift, I used to think it was the coolest thing ever, and I carried it around everywhere with me. Well, one day I tripped and fell while holding it, and it went flying into my bed frame, leaving a huge dent under the bird's left eye. But as I studied it in my hands now, there was no dent. That's when I realized there was a tiny price tag etched into the bottom of the statue, one that had never been there before. It was a fake. My stomach dropped as I set the bird down and checked my bed frame. Also no dent. I closed my door and climbed under my bed to find another price tag on the frame, mattress, and sheets. All new. To my horror, I began checking everything in my room only to find price tags on each one. I walked outside my room to our play area only to confirm my worst fears. Under the coffee table, beside the TV, inside the lampshade, all price tags and completely new. Every single item in the house had been replaced with an exact replica of itself. It was at this moment that I realized it wasn't my parents sitting downstairs watching TV. I quietly crept down the stairs to get my car keys off the kitchen table and leave, but when I slowly walked into the kitchen, I noticed they weren't there. That's when it happened. I heard a slight creak and slowly peeked my head into the living room, looking to see my parents sitting there holding hands and watching TV. Only the TV wasn't on. The couch faces away from the entrance to the living room so they couldn't see me. But from what I could make out, they were sitting there silently, staring at a black, empty screen. I shivered as a chill ran down my spine. Suddenly, I saw my own reflection in the black screen peeking at them, and immediately zipped my head back out of view before sneaking back up into my room. I immediately closed the door and tried locking it, but I realized the lock was either broken or deactivated, and it didn't work. I slid my bookshelf across the ground as quietly as possible to barricade myself inside and tried not to freak out. I don't know what those things did to my parents, but I clearly was not in my house anymore. What should I do? Do I call the police? What would I even say to them? Do I try to find where they put my keys, or just try to get out and make a run for it? I'm not sure where I should go from here, but I know one thing. I cannot fall asleep in their house.